Only a few weeks left for official iRacing action in 2018. Nevertheless, we have the rich, plentiful, but not any less magnanimous community of Pro Mazda ready to go racing again today as we welcome you to Circuit Zolder, located just under an hour's drive from Brussels in Belgium. It hosts Week 9 action for Season 4 2018 of the Pro Mazda Championship, with all coverage today on RaceSpotTV. Around the 4-kilometer, around 2.5 mile layout of Zolder, clockwise in nature with 10 turns, 5 to the left, the other 5 to the right, and it will challenge the drivers today for 20 laps of racing action. Zolder, not known for its elevation, only 9 meters of elevation change there around the racetrack. We are using the alternate layout, where the final chicane is pretty much the only difference between the two layouts available for Zolder and iRacing. Max fuel today, 18 liters available for the drivers. They're not going to make a pit stop because only about 16 liters needed to complete all 20 laps of this event. And that's a song I haven't heard in years on RaceSpot. Good afternoon, everybody. Jonathan Simon on hand in the commentary booth. Randolph Cheneth behind the scenes in production. And that's a... I'm going to need some refreshing from Randy behind the scenes. I haven't heard that song since like 2014. I'm surprised we still have that in our libraries. It's a very big throwback. But here we are in qualifying at the moment. We're about to finish right now this 8-minute session. 2 laps available, 2 hot laps available for the drivers maximum. And Henry Robert currently leads the timing screens ahead of Piero Giorgio Stocco and David Dendolo in third. Andrea Cini locks out the second row. Seems like the session is possibly over as the drivers get ready to switch, but Scott McIntyre is still out there on the racetrack. He's completed both his laps, so we're not going to look out for him at all. David Jarvis, I think he's had 2 off tracks on both of his laps, so he'll start from last in this event. 16 cars out on this field at the moment. Let's head to the race and look at your grid for today's Pro Mazda race. Henry Robert on pole position, a 1 minute 20.622. What a brilliant lap time from him. Piero Giorgio Stocco joins him on the front row. That'll be followed by David Dendolo and Andrea Cini in third and fourth. Aurelian Jimlowitz and Scott McIntyre will start from fifth and sixth. Scott McIntyre is in a very comfortable position to possibly climb his way onto the podium. What about Harley Lewis and Jean-Michel Nayon in seventh and eighth? What will they produce in the race later today as Anne Medema and Robert Bernabeu round out your top 10. Rest of the grid is on your screen. That includes the likes of Alessandro Moresta and Jamie Brinkley. What about Hayden Gobert from the 14th position? Daniel Jerez from 15th, who starts ahead of David Jarvis, who was not able to produce that lap time. So here we go now, just under 300 meters on the run down to turn 1. So it isn't quite the longest run, but it's not entirely short either. And that gives a chance for the likes of Piero Giorgio Stocco or even Andrea Cini from 4th position on that outside line to climb a few positions. The unique thing today is that pole position here is going to start on the left-hand side and on the inside. The racing line really goes through diagonally from the last corner to the first here as we wait for the drivers to take to the grid for the race. So no Ayrton Senna rants at Suzuka all the way back in the Formula 1 history books. But David Dendolo is getting impatient. He's starting to rev that engine, getting ready for this race. So before we kick off proceedings for today's race, there is one more broadcast available for Pro Mazda for this season. That will be week 11. Same time as today will be on the 24th of November, and that will take place from Sebring. We're ready to go green. So David Dendolo leads away the field. Now this is weird right now because your top 2 are not on the grid. That's very weird right now. So we'll wait for the order to proceed, but I didn't think we were ready for the event. But David Dendolo leads proceedings right now, followed by the likes of Aurelian Jimlowitz in the 2nd position. So good start from those 2 right now. Jimlowitz up from 5th on the grid. And right now, the timing screen's still updating. I mean, it's showing Henry Robert on one screen leading the race. He's certainly not. But Yeah, Henry Robert took to the pit lane at the start here, but here they go through the chicane for the first time at turn 5. David Endler still up ahead. Scott McIntyre has climbed his way up into third. We spoke about that as we called the grid. Scott McIntyre had a shot of climbing his way onto the podium. Here they are through the turn 7 complex. The cambered right-hander. Boy, this is such a beautiful racetrack. So now we're all starting to form up here to win this first lap. So just trying to wonder who didn't take to the grid in the end. Henry Robert started from the pit lane. Harley Lewis. Now things have gone wrong for Harley Lewis at the start as well, because as far as I know, Harley Lewis may have had an off or even started from the pit lane. We'll keep you posted on that. Piero Giorgio Stocchio did not start this race. So your front row, this is bizarre. I've never seen this in motor racing or iRacing. Your front row just not able to begin the race. But at the end of the first lap, David Dendelo leads the field away ahead of Aurelian Jimlowitz in second. Scott McIntyre has made a mistake because he was third. And Scott McIntyre had, well, definitely something went wrong through turn 1. I feel like he missed the apex of the inside. He slowed the car down, maybe had a slowdown. Here's Andrea Cini now under attack from Robert Bernabeu, who makes a move past Anne Medema for that 5th position. But look at Anne Medema on the fight back here through the forests of Zolder. Gonna be a braking battle into here. Oh, plenty of room left by Robert Bernabeu, and he just makes his way through the chicane. So respect from the two drivers. What about Craig Ridley though? He's behind, ready to move. David Jarvis too makes his way past Anne Medema. Now has a shot here past Robert Bernabeu in that number 15 Pro Mazda vehicle. Here they go through the final corner. Jarvis still awfully close, isn't he, to Robert Bernabeu? Here's the alternate final chicane. They just skip through this. They zip through that. They scream through it. Like a zip line through that final corner. The position changes during this mid-pack, for this mid-pack, quite dramatic on that lap as well. But for Scott McIntyre, oh, there's contact behind. It looked like, I know Daniel Jerez was one of the drivers that went off, but that was very weird right now. A lot of drivers struggling with turn number 1 here. As Daniel Jerez went off, it seemed as if the driver of Craig Ridley had nowhere to go. That was the comical part of it. I think Craig Ridley wasn't sure where to go in the end of it, so he would have made the corner, I think, if there was no traffic. But some damage for Craig Ridley's vehicle right now. Dendelo and Jimlowitz still lead the field away. Here they are with the final part of the lap. Through that beautiful turn 8. If you don't know what turn 8's called, go and Google it. And go and try and read that. I'll give you $1 million if you can read that. And I'm joking now. I'm not actually going to give $1 million because I bet you there'll be someone out there who can read it. But here they are through turn number 1. Dendelo, well, he'll be loving the fact that the top 2 are not in the race. Well, if he's passionate about racing, though, he'd want to earn it a little bit better than that. But hey, still part of motor racing for you. These two are broken away from the rest of the field because Jean-Michel Noyon in that 3rd position is 4 seconds behind this pack. That's your top 2 pack. Not even classify it. Here we go through the turn 5 chicane. Only on lap 4 of 20, so plenty of racing still left in this event. But Jimlowitz is definitely keeping Dendelo on us. Behind them, Andrea Cini close to Jean-Michel Noyon. Oh, and it looked like the driver of Jean-Michel Noyon butchered the turn 7 braking zone, and Cini's getting closer and closer now. Heading towards 8. Doesn't seem like, you know, it's only 9 meters of elevation change around Zolder, but it feels like more. I mean, there's quite a lot of undulation, but it's no Spa, it's no Eau Rouge. Here they are through the final chicane. Using the alternate layout, of course. And Cini's going to have to fall back for that 3rd position battle. Behind them, David Jarvis finds his way past Robert Bernabeu. Into the first corner they go. Bernabeu trying to find a way back into the top 5. Amadema, though, is also close as well. Amadema is in that 7th position. Sedan find a way past right now. The Jarvis started this race from last, don't forget, and is up 11 positions. They head towards that turn 7 chicane yet again. Medina looks close, but I don't think there's any way past right now. Ooh, off the line is David Jarvis, and Bernabeu to find his way past. Defensive driving this early from David Jarvis. And into the turn 8 braking zone. Oh, Jarvis looked like he changed his line. Contact was going to be inevitable there. Somehow they avoid it. No, it looked a bit... The view I saw it felt worse. Here they go through this final alternate chicane. Oh, screaming through the chicane is Amadema. Look at the run Madema has here. Searching for a move on Robert Bernabeu. Now has the toe as well from David Jarvis. But the move around the outside may be impossible. But anything's possible in this world as Amadema finds their way past Robert Bernabeu for the 6th position. What a brilliant overtake from Madema. But it's not over yet as Bernabeu now searches for a switchback here as they both run off track into that turn 5 chicane. I think Bernabeu may be a bit too far behind right now. And yep, there is no way past for Robert Bernabeu. Behind them, Scott McIntyre still on his recovery drive. He's in the 8th position. Craig Ridley as well in the 9th position, also on a recovery drive too, don't forget. Aiden Gerber's had to me, had an uneventful race. I mean, it's been eventful, I haven't seen much. And Harley Lewis and Maresta also in a little bit of a tussle as well. Jamie Brinkley's close to that bunch. Your DNF for this race so far include Daniel Jerez, who was involved in some incidents, as well as Henry Robert, who did not, well, took to the end of the race after some technical issues, of course, and Pure Giorgio Stocco was unable to start the race. A DNS for both your front row drivers of Robert and Stocco. It's actually quite disappointing. I would have loved to have a guy like Pure Giorgio Stocco in this race with such a swaggy name. Would have been lovely to say every now and then. But we have to endure and conquer without him. Bernabeu's dropped off that battle for 5th. Bernabeu now not even close, but the interesting part is here Jean-Michel Neon and Andrea Chini in a nice tussle. They don't want to spend too much time fighting between these two because the drivers behind of Jarvis and Madema are actually only a couple of seconds behind or down the road. So Neon to get a move on here with the pace because I think Chini probably knows that they're faster. Turn 8. Chini across the front stretch. Lap times last time for those two. Andrea Chini a 1 minute 21.211. Jean-Michel Neon a 0.444. So a couple of tenths slower. Oh, Robert Bernabeu's out of the event. Oh, we've just heard news that Bernabeu is out of the event. And it probably happened at the final corner because I did remember watching him through turn 8. The replay will be on screen. And, oh, there's that bump there at the final chicane. Goodness me. Have we turned Zolder into an airport here? He just goes flying. So, we'll still wait for it on screen, but he literally goes flying at the final corner. That's amazing. And, well, Robert Bernabeu, goodness me, we just saw it on screen, and that is a ridiculous incident. But that's how dangerous that bump is at the alternate final chicane. Fun chicane, dangerous chicane, only to be used in sim racing. Jean-Michel Lyon just went through it, and his race could have ended, because I saw Jim Lewis one lap go through the final chicane, and it seemed like he struggled through there. And then, obviously now we've seen what's happened to Robert Bernabeu, who's our 4th retirement of the event. Jean-Michel Lyon has spun. There he is on screen. And he was pushing because he was certainly under attack from Cheney, but through turn 1, Jean-Michel Lyon just carried a bit too much speed and just lost the rear end on exit. So Jean-Michel Lyon actually lost it on the apex, to be honest with you, and that's going to cost him a good result. And that's just so unfortunate for Lyon. Bit of a streaky driver, isn't he? Every now and then he has a good day, and then he has a day like today, of course. Hayden Gober also just passed by the driver of Harley Lewis for the 8th position, but for Lyon, where is he in this battle? He's in 7th, so he's up the road from those two. So he's lost 4 important positions there, and that promotes Scott McIntyre to 6th on his recovery drive, but it allows Andrea Cheney to remain unscathed in that 3rd position. But look how quick David Jarvis is. Jarvis with no qualifying lap time set. Started last, climbing his way through the order. Took the shift a bit late there on the front stretch, but it helped him out regardless. Oh, looks for a move at turn 1. Not there for David Jarvis. Here they go around turn 2. Jarvis doesn't have the exit he would have liked. This is turn number 4 right now. The right-hander. Then through the turn 5 chicane, trying to break the slips from his Andrea Cheney. You know what? And Randy's listening to this because he produced this chicane right now that we've seen Cheney go off. Oh, we'll talk about it later, but Jarvis now is going to find his way into the podium positions. Pressure put on Andrea Cheney, and he succumbed to that pressure because now Cheney is out of the podium positions. No one wants that final podium slot except for David Jarvis, who has climbed his way from last into a podium. This is a Q1-esque drive. You know when those drivers in Formula 1 are out in Q1, climb their way onto the podium? This is like that. Jarvis now, brilliant drive from him into the 3rd position. Amadema is close as well. What a run Amadema gets out of that final chicane. They've nailed it. Saw Amadema make a great move earlier on Robert Bernabeu as well. Through the first corner, that's so difficult. Plenty of lines you can take through there. Same goes for turn number 2 here. To the right-hander at 4. Medema runs a little bit wide. Get away with that. So this chicane, Randy, I've seen Paul Smith flip a Kia on its roof on the exit of this chicane, all on his own. No battles, no pressure. He was just driving in a race, DNF. It was quite a spectacular sight. That actually might be the last time I ever commentated a race at Zolder too. That was like 3 years ago, I think, 2015. It's just been weird. I've just never had to commentate a race here. It's good to be back to Zolder. What a brilliant racetrack in Belgium. Belgium? What am I saying? Through turn 8 now. Medema. There's no way past. The leaders, though, have switched. Dendelo and Jim Lewis. There's been a move for the lead right now, and Dendelo's trying to find a way back past for P1. Oh, look how hard Jim Lewis is pushing through turn number 1. So the lead change for the first time today. David Dendelo has given up that first position, but is close here for a charge back Jim Lewis. Could he find a way back past Aurelian? The 2 glide through turn 1, turn 4. Now on towards the turn 5 chicane. Dendelo, possible dive bomb. A lot of respect between the two. But Jim Lewis pushes wide. And look at the exit here from Dendolo. He's got a great shot heading to turn 6 and 7 around the outside for Dendolo. Can he get it done? Pulls back in time. No move for David Dendolo. Oh, it got close between the two. Dendolo touched the anti-cut strip, so he'll get away with that, of course, too. Jarvis in third. He's untouched right now. Jarvis looks good for that podium position, but it's between Cini and Medema for the 4th position. Scott McIntyre, had it not been for whatever problem he had early on in the race, it looked weird. He could have found his way into that 3rd position quite comfortably. Jean-Michel Neon on a recovery drive. In 7th, setting some good lap times, but is it too little too late? The leaders now alongside each other on the main stretch. David Dendolo for the lead. Brilliant pass. Can he stick it through turn 2? Jim Lewis, great racing action, and reclaims the advantage, but has a tighter line through 4. Dendolo missed the apex. That's going to cost him. Oh no, David Dendolo. Got to send it up the inside here, surely. Jim Lewis on point through the turn 5 chicane. Only lap 13 of 20, so still plenty of action left between these two. Oh, Medema's making a move here on Andrea Cini. It was close. But Medema now slots back into formation. There are a lot of overtaking spots on this circuit. This one at turn 8 is possible right now. Medema finally makes their way past Andrea Cini. And Cini now demoted yet again to the 5th position. Damaged rear wing for Andrea Cini as well. Oh, Cini's pinned it through the final corner. Into the wall is Andrea Cini. Oh, and that car is just beaten up. No way you can get that car to the finish. Let's hope Andrea Cini can, though. They've now, well, they're behind Jean-Michel Neon even. So Cini, with that damage, has not had the pace. And that bump through that final chicane is going to create nightmares for these drivers at the end of this race. Slowly becoming a race of attrition. It's what we saw last time at Mosport when we watched Pro Mazda a few weeks ago, but although that was a little bit more dramatic. This time the racing action has been much better. Racing standards have been better as well between the drivers. Good to see a lot of respect for today. One of those races, you know, at Mosport, every series has that. No big deal. But Jim Lewis will cross the start-finish line and is under attack from David Dendolo. Let's update your standings on lap 14 of 20. Dendolo looking for the lead here. We'll keep an eye on this as we update the standings. But those are your top 2. They did not start on the front row. Your front row is out of the race, and that includes Henry Robert and Piero Giorgio Stocco. Robert's rejoined the racetrack, actually, so they were initially a DNF. But Henry Robert now, he's back in this event. And Medema is in the 3rd position, though, under attack from Scott McIntyre. Can you believe Scott McIntyre could end up on the podium after all this? This is ridiculous, because Robert Jarvis, what's going wrong? Oh, sorry, David Jarvis. What's going wrong with David Jarvis? Oh, David Jarvis is off the racetrack right now at turn 2. So, oh, goodness gracious. We need a couple of replays here, Randy, because David Jarvis, something's gone wrong. Oh, he spun at turn 1. So lap 14, he spun on the exit of turn 1. Oh no, David Jarvis was having such a great drive for P3. I think he probably spun as I was saying these drivers were driving really well today. And then he just went launching the same way we saw Robert Bernabeu go launching. And this is into turn 2 for David Jarvis. hit the anti-cut stripped on the exit. My goodness, that's a brilliant sight if we can get that on the broadcast through turn 2. That car is in mid-air, lap 15, turn 2. David Jarvis's race, well, ironically, goes flying. Not even going to comment. Davidendo's in the lead though, so while that's happened, Dendelo's found his way into the lead again. So another lead position change. This time this happened at turn 1. So Dendelo's getting that run out of the final chicane. Jim Lewis has to search for a race victory. With only a few laps to go, we're on lap 16 to 20. And Medema is on the podium position. So that is a brilliant sight for David Jarvis. Not a sight that he'll want to be remembered for, but certainly one he'll be remembered for today. And it's ironic because he had such a brilliant drive from that final grid slot of 16 cars today. Scott McIntyre could find his way onto the podium. How about Jean-Michel Neon on the recovery drive? In the top 5, Andrea Cini into 6th. Jarvis in 7th, Hayden Gobert in 8th, and it's Ridley, Maresta, Brinkley, and Lewis. Henry Robert still out there. Your DNFs include Bernabeu, Daniel Jerez, Piero Giorgio Stocco. But can Jim Lewis find a way back past into the lead? Important for Jim Lewis, lap 17 to 20. Time is running out. Jim Lewis close through turn 8. Let's have a look at them through the final chicane, because I feel like Dandolo gets a great run here. Will Aurelian push through? Aurelian gets a great run here, actually. But look at Dandolo. It seemed like Aurelian had the better line, but David's car is just on point through that final chicane. This alternate layout is Zolder. Spectacular. And the only difference is that final chicane. Goes to show how great this circuit is. The cambered corners. That seam flap at turn 4. Such a challenging high-speed corner. Look at the run from Jim Lewis. Goes through the Paul Smith chicane. Now on to 7. Jim Lewis, no way past. So this is not good for Aurelian. Had a spot at the lead here, shot at the lead, excuse me, and just gonna be lamenting this, but it's not over. Those two in a fight on their own. How about Scott McIntyre? So we'll keep an eye on the lead battle. Another eye on Scott McIntyre, who could find his way past Amadema, but the leaders go through the final chicane. Oh, Jim Lewis gets a good run here. Not going to be enough, I don't think, to get past into turn 1, but could certainly surprise Dandolo in the braking zone. Jim Lewis thinks better of it. Knows that points are on offer for the championship. Oh, through turn 2. Those are the anti-cup strips that send David Jarvis flying from Belgium to whatever country he's in now. Probably sent him flying all the way back home to the UK and Ireland. Jim Lewis is sort of backing off here through the Paul Smith chicane, but through turn 5, it's just, there's no way, because I reckon he's got to at least dive bomb. Lap 19 and 20, we're about to begin the final lap soon. This penultimate lap may have been the chance for Jim Lewis. He's probably just trying to make Davidendo a little bit nervous. Who knows? Through the exit of 7. spot on apexes by your leaders, Jim Lewis. Loss of traction on the exit. Don't tell me that's going to be the difference between a race victory for Jim Lewis. It may be all over. But Dandolo now is the driver who may potentially win this race. They lead as we begin the final lap. Jim Lewis with that mistake on the exit of turn 8. Oh boy, he'll be kicking and screaming in the cockpit. Just like the Belgian national team. The talent that Belgium produced in the football world. But Jim Lewis now, unfortunately, that may be day done through the final chicane. Those are your leaders, Medema and McIntyre, the battle for the final podium position. It seems like Medema may have that all locked for themselves. Noyon in the 5th position will claim a top 5 after the early spin. Andrea Cini, with all the damage, will still come in 6th maybe. It seems like the rest of the field is starting to form up. Craig Ridley is out of the event, by the way. Some updating news here on the final lap. But Dandolo and Jim Lewis have a bit of lap traffic to maneuver around. We don't want J.R. Hildebrand at Indianapolis here to win this race. But it looks all clean for David Dandolo after 20 laps of action. He is victor for Week 9, Season 4 action of the Pro Mazda Championship. What a great victory from David Dandolo. Led the field away on the first lap with your front row out of the event. Jim Lewis had the lead for a couple of laps, don't forget, will only end up in 2nd. And Medema, what a valiant podium from Medema, followed by Scott McIntyre, who, what a brilliant recovery drive from Scott McIntyre, who should have definitely been a lot higher up the order, but Scott will still be proud of his drive through here. Circuit Zolder, the Canadian, comes home in 4th. Jean-Michel Neon, the Frenchman, rounds out your top 5. What an event from David Dandolo, though. Just brilliant. Always driving well in Pro Mazda, and he's back to the top step of the podium. Jim Lewis, of course, in 2nd. Still a great drive regardless. And the two celebrate right now because they both drove a great team drive here at Circuit Zolder. Let's look at your final race results for Week 9. Throwback Saturday music. Flashback Friday, I think, is a good thing. It's Friday in most parts of the world. Saturday morning here in Australia. But your final race results for Week 9 Season 4 up on screen. And David Dandolo took a great victory ahead of Aurelian Jim Lewis. We've spoken about that. How about Medema's drive in a 3rd position to round out the podium? No one wanted that podium position in the end. Medema etches their name on the trophy. Scott McIntyre comes home in the 4th position. Jean-Michel Neon rounds out the top 5. Andrea Cini, how do you drive a car home with that much damage in the 6th position? In the end, probably a positive effort to come home in the 6th position. Had a podium slip away, of course, too. Hayden Gober, quiet race from Hayden Gober, ends up in 7th. Alessandro Moresta the same, rounds out your top 8. And rounding out the top 10 is Jamie Brinkley in 9th. And David Jarvis, who went flying like an airplane and who started last, was up into 3rd at one point and binned it all on his own at turn 1 and then turn 2 a lap after that. Harley Lewis rounded out the rest of the drivers on the lead lap there as well. Harley Lewis almost was lapped at the end of the event, but David Dandolo didn't catch him in time. And Henry Robert, who was supposed to start from pole position, but Henry Robert, of course, started from the pit lane and just carried on, getting some good safety rating, of course, too. Tried to really claim whatever he could from this event, of course. Disappointing for Henry Robert, who set a blistering lap time in qualifying. Robert Bernabeu out of the event, of course, along with Craig Ridley, who was a late DNF. Same for Daniel Jerez, who was out of the event. 5 laps of action. Piero Giorgio Stocco was a DNS that did not start, something unusual in iRacing. Piero Giorgio Stocco with technical issues did not start the race from the front row. What an odd event for Pro Mazda, with your front row not starting this event. We were confused in the commentary booth. Are the lights about to illuminate and disappear? Because we had no clue But that is it for Pro Mazda action here today. We'll speak to the driver of Harley Lewis before we go. And here is the driver of Harley Lewis. Harley Lewis, you available to speak here for post-race interviews?
Let's have at her, boys.
It seemed that we didn't really watch you that much. You were almost lapped at the end of the event there. But talk about your event starting from 7th.
Oh, I feel a bit left out there. Well, off the grid, after I messed up all my qualifying laps, as a couple people did, the grid button didn't appear, so I didn't get the grid and I had to restart the game and then start from the pits.
Yeah, we noticed that. I mean, you weren't the only one. It seemed like the front row, obviously the front row did not start the race. Henry Robert and Pio Giorgio Stocco.
Oh, it's pretty awesome when you get the broadcasted SOF race and don't even get to start it, but hey, that's racing, right?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to comment on that. I don't want to. But regardless of that, you still had some good pace. You still ended up on the lead lap as well. So still something to claim from this race for sure.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I made it back up to about 8th before I got a cut course in the last corner. And no matter what I did, it just wasn't happy with my slowing. Eventually gave me a black flag, 15-second stop and go. That was the end of the race.
Can you talk about the final chicane here? Because I don't mind either layout that we use, the alternate or Grand Prix layout, both still pretty thrilling. It's only the final chicane that's different, but there was that bump on the apex that really sent a few drivers off the racetrack. Was that trouble for you throughout testing?
I figured a way to settle the car right at the apex, so it's been pretty good, but if you look at my last lap, I actually spin on that as well, so maybe I need to do a bit more practice.
You didn't send the car flying like an airplane throughout practice, did you? Because a lot of drivers have been trying to do that through the anti-cut strips.
No, luckily I came up in a flying program as a kid. I already have my pilot's license, so on the track I try to just keep the rubber down.
So there you go. And final thing, Harley Lewis, since you're the only one who's appearing for post-race interviews, which I actually like, by the way. We never do these for Pro Mazda, which it's great to have you here. Who do you want to thank from the team and from the crew?
Well, big thanks to Carbon Racing, all the guys that help me get my pace, that don't really race, that if you go to our webpage, you'll see all those top guys. Everyone there is really fast. Just kind of try to pick up some pace to catch them. David had a little bit rough of a race today, but I'm sure if you see him in the next race, he'll be on top. Big congratulations to the podium, though. David Dendolo has been doing really well this week. I don't know if this is his special track, but shout out to him for dominating the races I've been in anyway.
There is Harley Lewis, who came home in the 11th position, still on the lead lap with a lot of technical issues, was not able to begin this race, along with a few other drivers, of course, as well. So that is it for Pro Mazda action for 2018. Well, not for 2018, for week 9, season 4 for 2018. The next race, of course, will be, well, before we talk about that, Pro Mazda Championship itself, they will be traveling to Belle Isle for 18 laps of racing action. And that will be for week 10, season 4 of 2018, of course. Our next broadcasted race will be on week 11, November the 24th. That will be at the same time, 9:45 p.m. GMT. That will take place from Sebring. If you thought the bump today at that alternate layout at the final chicane was thrilling, wait till we head to Sebring and the bumps there, of course, as well. Final thank yous before we go. Thank you to all you viewers for joining us for today's broadcast, of course, too. I'm Jonathan Simon, alongside Randolph Cheneth in production today behind the scenes. Thanks as well to Istvan Bello, Andreas Werner, Simon Grossman, and Nick Thiessen for all their hard work behind the scenes, because this was a RaceSpotTV presentation as we say so long from Circuit Zolder. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time at Sebring.